Adam Nip here with Mayor Pat Sobeski for an edition of Webchat with the Mayor. It's the middle of the summer, Pat. July, you'd think quiet summer months, but not necessarily so, as you and Development Commissioner Len Magyar were down in Norwich. Can you tell us what you were talking about to their council this morning?
Yes, Mr. Magyar, who's the Development Commissioner for the city, we went to Norwich Town Council this morning. And basically what's happened with the development of the 70 acres in the north side of the city for a future recreational center, that 70 acres was in our industrial inventory. So we'll be removing that. And the Economic Development Advisory Committee had always advised that the city should have about 400 acres of industrial land ready to go. We're down to just over 200 acres now. And so we approached Norwich Town Council about a border adjustment. And the reason is that the city has purchased the Van Wyck Farm, which is right across from Patullo Ridge Business Park. It's 94 acres. However, it's conditional upon a border adjustment to bring it into the city of Woodstock. So we went down and made a presentation to them to explain the reasons why we see it. We see it as a site for large companies coming into town. It takes about 2 or 3 years to do all the preparation works that's required to get the land ready to make it sale. It would continue to be farmed during that period. But we went down, and so they were very friendly. They asked some good questions, and they've received the report, and they've asked their staff to prepare a report for them to consider at their next council meeting.
Okay, so explain for us why the city coveted this site specifically.
This site, it's always been of interest to the city because of the location next to Patullo Ridge Business Park and the gravity. It's just because of the lay of the topography that the land floats into. So it's a site that is relatively easy to service from the city's point of view because because of the gravity flow. So it's a site that the city's always coveted. When I first joined council 10 years ago, this site was pointed out as something they'd eventually like to bring into the city. And so the city economic development, Mr. Magyar, he's always had ongoing discussions with the farm. The farm used to rent land office in Commerce Way Park. So we've had a relationship with the farm, and that's sort of how it came together.
Okay, we'll see what happens with that. On City Council's agenda coming up this week is an interesting report looking at the next municipal election and different options for voting. And may we see internet voting come to the city of Woodstock?
Well, there is a report from the Clerk's Department. Louise Garcher had indicated she would be bringing to council suggestions as to the new ways other municipalities across Ontario are voting. It appears that about 30% of the municipalities across Ontario have moved away from the traditional way of voting, which we have here in Woodstock. And there's various methods of doing it by telephone, by internet. And so this report outlines the basic rules or the policies, procedures that would be associated with each rules, the cost, the pros, the cons of each particular method. And so council will have to sit down and decide, do we want to move forward with a change in the voting method, or do we want to stay back and watch and see how it evolves, how it continues to evolve? But there's certainly pressures on the federal government, the provincial governments to take a look at modernizing the way we vote. The report indicates that interesting that just by changing the method doesn't necessarily mean you're going to increase the number of people participating. So it's a well-balanced report. It's something for council to consider, and we'll be looking at it on Thursday night.
Do you have any opinion on what you would like to see happen with voting for the next election?
I have to go through the particular report, but I'll say that I'm still I'm concerned about the security issues that are outlined here, and also it also outlines the voting ages of people. So I'm concerned about the people that have access to computers and everything else. I mean, I'm not probably the person to talk to because I tried to file my income tax on the system this year.
You didn't have trouble with that.
I did, and even when I handed it to someone who was tech savvy, they gave up too. So, so anyways, but I'm not a good example because I'm not a techie.
Okay. One other thing on the agenda this week, want to touch on the crematorium. That's a debt issue, is it?
Yes. What it is, of course, we've gone through a particular process. They had the owners had taken a look at had filed an OMB appeal, but because of the way this deal was structured, the intent was that we were selling the land conditional upon getting a zoning change. That didn't happen, and at the end of the day, they just decided that it was no sense in pursuing to the OMB. So this is just bringing a report to council to indicate that they've withdrawn the OMB appeal.
Guess one less battle we'll have to fight.
That's true, yes.
All right, thanks for your time, Pat. We'll look forward to those and more issues coming up Thursday night at Woodstock City Council.
Thank you.